And as always, we're going to be looking for accurate context, good risk management, and always exercising good patience.
Anytime you're talking about fundamentals in a market and direction, fundamentals take a little bit of time to play out.
We got crude oil today, kind of trading yesterday's value area really nicely, low to high.
That's what we're here for, is to put ourselves in the best success. A trade routine does that, builds that habit, lets you know what to work on, what to reflect on, and what to improve on the next day.
Good morning, traders, and welcome to the market forecast for Thursday, March the 10th. I'm John Hoagland. Thanks for trusting me with your time. Always looking for good context, risk management, patience, and adaptability. That's a new word for us. Unfortunately, things have not changed overseas. I don't want to dwell on it, but we all know what we're seeing going on over there. Please continue to pray for peace. As far as economic numbers this morning, the 7:30 numbers, the CPI numbers came out largely as expected. We're still facing 40-year inflation. Jobless claims came out a little bit worse than they were expecting. They were looking for initial 217,000, 227, 10,000 more initial jobless claims. And continuing jobless claims is a little disturbing. We're looking for 1.46 million. It came out 1,494,000, so an additional 34,000 in continuing jobless claims. The ECB decided to leave rates at zero this morning, and it's now on the schedule. This makes more sense to me that roll day for the equities is today. There's still much more volume in the March contract than June. We'll probably be changing to June contract tomorrow. That makes a lot more sense. They had it for next Tuesday. I've never seen a rollover on a Tuesday. Now I know when the first of the month is on a Friday, it affects the date for the rollover, but now it looks like it's going to be today. But again, we're still trading March. The volume is still in March. As far as what traders are looking at this morning, stocks are set to start the day lower after the hopeful talks between Russia and Ukraine break down with no progress, inflation near or at a new 40-year high. The House of Representatives passes a $1.6 trillion bill, keeping the government open through the end of the year. I wonder if we'd be better off without them. Amazon has a $10 billion buyback and a stock split after the close today. And crude prices firmed after talk of production increases backtrack. So what we're looking at this morning, if you're already in the markets, hopefully you've got things going your way. As usual, make sure you hit the lucky like button. Share, comment, question, feedback, and heckling and love are always welcome here at the Market Forecast and the Market Recap. And make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. You get notifications when we do go live. The VIX up 4.5% last I looked, 33.91. Dollar index largely flat, 97.99, and a little bit of an uptick in the yield in the 10-year, up at 1.96%. I got to say good morning to everybody. My favorite part of the day. Good morning, Shaw. Manuel, Aaron, Janus, Drew, good morning, Isaac, Scott saw, and he conquered. Brian, Theo, Mirik, chillin' with Dylan, good morning, Sharon, Dan Trader, Zorain, Tachyon, Dan Trader, don't forget, oh, hey, that's very nice of you, Dan. Only like it if you do like it. I appreciate that, though, Dan. James, J, John Doherty, the Dancing Bear, JD, it's always a pleasure to see you. Michael Knight, Liam, Frederico, Rusty Golfer, that's me. Bill, Dave, Terry, Spencer, Luis, Charles, you're welcome. I'm glad you enjoyed yesterday's session. And I'm looking forward to making whole money today, too. You guys are going to be making the decisions. We're going to be in there. We're going to be in there talking about the S&Ps right after the market forecast this morning and see if we find any trades. Jay Crockett, my brother Rick, love you. Laura, good morning. Marcelo, Expediter, Dean, Devont, Sarah, good dawn and day to you. Wall Street Traders, good morning. Alessandro, good morning. Jay Crockett, up 325 so far this morning. That's a good start. Nice job. Trading Research, good morning. When James, VIX up 1.11 per Bloomberg. That's maybe a little bit of a change since last time I checked. Death Cross has come into play on the ES. Interested to see how the next few weeks play out. Thanks for pointing that out, Scott. We'll take a look at that on the continuation chart. JS Jewel, good morning. Shurin, Nico, good morning. Here is the link to register for Make Hold Money today. If you don't know what that is, right after the forecast today, we're going to meet in a Zoom webinar. The first 5 people to say me, I'm going to allow them to talk. Everybody's going to be in on this decision. You guys are going to make a decision in the S&Ps to make a trade, not make a trade, which side the trade's going to be, and we're going to see how that plays out. Last week, we had two trades. We had a $300 winner and a $150 loss. I again padded the account a little bit for us last Thursday. There was too good an opportunity for me to pass up on. And we're doing this in sim, but if we succeed in this 150K combine, we make $9,000 over the next few days, weeks, whatever it is, we're going to go live. Frederico participated last time. This time he'll watch. And you can always put your comments in. If there's a lot of folks there, when we reach a decision, a go, no-go period of time, and we're going to ask you all to vote. Yes, no. And we probably, if there's a lot of folks there, we'll probably take like the first 10, 15 votes, and we'll respond to those because it's going to be a lot of voting. Hopefully, it's a very active session if we get some opportunity. And we will see how it goes. And again, we're looking forward to your feedback on this. If this is something that you like, that you enjoy, that you feel like you're learning something from, we may expand it. We may do it more often. Maybe something bigger will come of it. It's all up to you. All right. All right. I think that's all the business. We don't have any more group coachings this week. Today is Thursday. Tomorrow's Friday. Well, let's see what we can figure out for us today. Always thinking again about context. Let's get set up and let's see what we're looking at here. Maybe a little bit of an issue. Thinking I'm having a little bit of an issue with my internet here. Let me know if you see. All right, looks like we're back. Okay, all right, I think we're back. A little bit of an internet problem there, but I think we're good to go. All right, let's take a look. All right, so here's the daily in the S&Ps. Yesterday, there was some hope yesterday of changes overseas. That was enough for us to really push this market back to the upside. It didn't pan out, unfortunately. Let's keep praying. Yesterday, we added 13,000 off the low. Thinking maybe we were a little too short. I thought maybe we'd drop a little bit of open interest, but instead we added open interest. Is this new buyers? Is this short covering? I think it's a little bit of both. And don't forget, now we are in rollover. So I'm going to be looking at the extremes of a new area of balance that we've established over the last 2 sessions. Yesterday's high, Tuesday's low. Anything in between, we're looking at short time frame control because remember, we are in rollover. Structure still remains lower. There's nothing that's changed that in anything that's happened recently. And when we're looking at the 30-minute, you'll see the delta divergence that we saw yesterday. We talked about on the market recap yesterday. Now, knowing that rollover is today, there may be more of a tendency for the market to remain range bound. Doesn't have to happen, but our longer time frame traders that have oodles of contracts to roll or get out of are more focused on getting that rollover done cheaply than they are in directional activity just for the next couple of days. So I'm thinking we may start to create this rollover range. We have a little bit of a disillusionment of a potential truce. We're all well aware of that. Let's take a look at the 30-minute chart, see what we're looking at here. All right. So we were thinking yesterday when we had those overnight longs that maybe we were a little bit too short down here. And with the news, that was enough for the market to kind of recover back above the weekly kickoff low. We saw the market open. We saw a little bit of a push to what's the word I'm looking for? Adjust the inventory from the overnight. Okay, we got very little of an effort to the downside, and buyers came in. Now, whether these buyers were short covering or new positions is unknown. Today, we do see that there's an additional 13,000 in open interest, also blurry because of rollover. Okay, so we have, hey, come back here. There it is. So we have, I think my internet is a little bit wonky here this morning. Yes, of course, spreaders are getting active between the March and June contract. You gotta move all those positions over. Today is the biggest day of that. So, all right. Here's the delta divergence we witnessed yesterday. All negative delta increasing as price continued to move higher. That's one of two things: an accumulation of new longs, which that might be indicated by open interest, or short covering. We started the day with a P shape, which kind of continued up to the upside. So I'm thinking we had a little bit of both, some short covering and some new longs coming into this market, some hopeful longs. Settlement, 42.75.25. This morning we've got an inventory to the short side in short time frame, weaker hands traders. The volume. Very little volume in the overnight. That's the weaker hands. That's pea shooters like us trying to make a little bit of money throughout the evening. They're holding short positions. Same way they were holding long positions yesterday, the opposite is true. It appears right now that we're going to be opening with a gap. If we were to open now, we would open with a gap. So gap rules would apply if we continue to look lower and we open with a gap and we don't get a decent pullback towards the inventory adjustment back to basically settlement, which is where the overnight session started, then we could see some continuation to the downside. I saw somebody mention the possibility of repair, and that is certainly a distinct possibility because we've got a naked point of control down here from Tuesday's trade. We got a naked point of control up here from Wednesday's trade, and we are in the middle, and it's rollover. So we're kind of expecting some range-bound activity. I'm going to be focusing on the extremes for any larger, longer time frame trades. Anything in the middle, again, I'm looking at short time frame information. Overnight inventory to the short side. If we open with a gap, we can't close the gap. We look for opportunities in the direction of the gap. Let's take a look at the crude oil now, where it looks like we're going to catch the open. I've been thinking since we were down here that the auction is tiring. It became very emotional yet hollow. We've been losing open interest all the way up here. We even lost open interest yesterday, and we know that this market rolls in 1 week. The majority of the loss in open interest yesterday was in the April contract. Some longs in April probably decided just to get out of them instead of rolling over. So we lost 15,000 in April. We lost 17,000 7,000 overall, which leaves us with a positive 8,000 contracts in the future months, not including the April contract, which is the expiring month. Did we bring in some sellers? That's what that's telling me is, even though we're coming into rollover, that push to the downside was actually an increase, even though it's kind of blind to see, of 8,000 contracts. We haven't seen an increase all the way up in open interest. We've been losing open interest. The volume has largely been dismal on this push to the upside. It's all emotion. We all see how illiquid, if you're looking at a dome in the crude oil, it looks more like a Nasdaq dome. It's ones, twos, threes, fives. Sometimes there's spaces between bids and offers, and that's unusual for the crude oil contract. Be careful. Take a look at the 30. Okay, we have a balance here and a small balance here. We're opening in the middle of them. We have overnight inventory to the long side, but we're opening right inside of value and with a potential repair. We're opening above this high volume node and below the high volume node up here, which is the point of control for the day. But it was a double distribution trend day, very volatile, very thin. The market drove right to weekly kickoff low, a little bit beyond it. And if there was more liquidity, it may have stopped even closer to the weekly kickoff low than it did. So what are we looking at? Do we have an opening range trade here? I'm not thinking about it because we're right in the middle of range from yesterday. There's very little change in the perception of value. Our opening range is 1405 to 88. Huge. That's too much risk for me. We took out the low of the opening range first. That means we may be looking at an inventory adjustment back to the 30-minute chart. We're holding longs. The opening range remains the high, and inventory adjustment may be imminent because these shorter time frame, weaker hands traders, as soon as they get the idea that they're not going to get a push to the upside in regular trading hours, they're going to be the first ones to bail, and they tend to bail en masse. Our friend Jim Dalton always says, whenever there's an overnight inventory and the market opens and you got all these longs here, it's like being at a really good party and everybody's enjoying themselves, but everybody's well aware that there's the risk of a fire. And if that fire, even if somebody runs towards the door, everybody's hanging around the door because they want to get out if there is a fire. And as soon as that fire is lit, everybody piles out and runs towards the door. And so that would kind of what an inventory adjustment would look like. But again, we're looking at a move to settlement and a move to point of control as more important levels for me to look at to maybe find some fish. Maybe we'll find some fish. All right, let's take a look at the Nasdaq, which is largely the same as the S&Ps, just a little bit deeper red. Downside structure remains again. Yesterday, we had zero change in open interest. That tells me again in the S&Ps that it's more likely we met short covering and new longs. We transferred risk yesterday. We didn't increase risk. We transferred risk. A lot of shorts sold into new longs. Makes sense with the negative delta, if you ask me. That's just my humble opinion. Now we're in rollover. We know that. We've got 4 days in balance. Well, 1, 2, 3, kind of establishing a high and a low. We're in there. Weekly kickoff low. Does it mean anything today? We've run through it a few times this week already. So with open interest being moot, not tremendous volume yesterday. Usually isn't on up days. We're in short time frame control. We're in the middle of that area of balance. We're near an important inflection level. If it's going to be useful or not, who knows? Take a look at the 30-minute chart. Up. We did have a slight delta divergence, not as deep as it was in the S&Ps. Settlements all the way up here, 13,734.75. Got all these shorts overnight. If we can't open with a gap, if we don't open with a gap, that may be one of the things that might light that fire back to settlement. If we can't light the fire, we get down below weekly kickoff low, which would be below yesterday's range. We've got some visual targets down here to look at. Naked point of control. It all depends on where we open. Is there a gap or is there not a gap? Do we stay inside yesterday's range or do we leave yesterday's range? There may be some fish down here. We've got yesterday's low right up against weekly kickoff low. There's usually an indication that we may find a nice bass, maybe even a walleye down here. Got to be careful, though, with those walleye. They don't hit the bait. They just kind of suck it in, and it feels like there's a little bit of drag, and then you got to set the hook. All right, enough fishing numbers, enough fishing talk. Gold. Some questions as to whether some of these markets were in what was the word? Corrective mode yesterday, and I'm thinking that is probably the truth here in gold. Even though we did add 13,000 in open interest on this push off the downside, I think that's beneficial for the upside auction. To be honest with you, we've been seeing volume coming in for the last 5-6 sessions. We've seen price moving higher. Yesterday on the pullback, we didn't increase volume; we lost volume. The fact that we added open interest on a down day says we just suckered in a whole bunch of new shorts. We've got a lot of upside doubters in this market. Upside structure still remains. Last week's high, supportive overnight. Now we're back above the weekly kickoff high. 30-minute chart. Okay, our opening range got taken out. This was initially the opening range high, 2012.40. That tells us something. The opening range is no longer the high of the session. Traders were willing to go take a look at it. Are we holding some overnight longs here? Yes, we are. Can we fix it? Yes, we can. Bob the Builder. So what am I thinking here? No gap. Gap is closed immediately. Are we too short again? Overnight inventory is long. If we can't bring price back to where the overnight started, which we may already have done that, here's where the overnight started. We traded right down to it. I don't think that there's that much overnight inventory left here. We'll be watching the regular trading hour low, which is right here, 1997, for a possible fish. We've got weekly kickoff in the picture here as well. It's going to be an interesting one. It's going to be an interesting one, Rick. All right. To the euro. Well, we've got a pretty stiff reversal from here yesterday. Decisive even. We added 21,000 in new open interest. That's a pretty good jump. Volume, not so much, though. Volume wasn't all that great for a reversal of this magnitude. You're going to be sitting here waiting to monitor for continuation. It's going to be difficult to find opportunities with the market, gapping as far away from yesterday's range, and now right in the middle of our weekly kickoff levels, showing some rejection down here. Buyers came in. We can see that in open interest. Question is, are they going to be right? Take a look at the 30. So hang on a second. So we're still in yesterday's range. I apologize. I was looking at something else here. Settlement up here. Overnight inventory definitely reconciled. It's pretty decisive reversal. Got a gap down here. We've left a little bit of weak structure down here. We're basically in range, in value. We're looking at this as a potential area, very small area of repair. We opened basically above it, traded into it. Now we've traded through it. So if we get stuck in here, there's a reason. We got a high volume node and a high volume node. We didn't open between them, but now we're kind of hanging around here. Point of control has been checked. It could be an important level for us. It's going to be kind of difficult, I think, to maneuver in this market today. We got our overnight low that also could be very interesting. We got yesterday's low. Because we're so centrally located in the weekly kickoff range, it seems to me that it would be more likely to respect short time frame levels. The problem is there's a lot of them. It's going to be a tough trade today in the euro. 10-year. So we keep seeing rates creep up. We all know they're going up next week. Continuation to the downside, not really bringing in volume, which isn't all that encouraging for a downside auction. We did lose 43,000 in open interest on this push to the downside. So that tells me I don't think that we're really getting too short here. Long liquidation is more like it yesterday. Rates creeping up again towards 2%. How is the auction going? Seems to be not doing that well, but we have information coming out next week that we're pretty confident rates are gonna rise. We're kind of trading one against the other. So the 730 bar closed the gap, rejected yesterday's range. Seems as though we've still got some sellers in control here. We've got some really long shadows on both sides of these. There's a little bit of indecision going on down here. I'm beginning to fear maybe we are a little bit too short down here with the indecision in these dojis here. Take a look at the natural gas and we'll get down to business. We added 16,000 in open interest yesterday on dismal volume. This short time frame downside auction does not seem to be very gratuitous as far as interest in it. Yeah, we added some open interest, but the volume yesterday was really dismal. That means as we are getting closer to an important support/inflection level, volume is cutting off. Here's the 30. Okay, we're looking at overnight longs here before the 8 o'clock open. I think we've pretty much resolved back to the fact that we're flat in short time frame. We opened in range and in value. Stay patient. Better trade locations are likely to come as the day goes on. Pretty narrow range yesterday. You see the delta was to the downside, and price really was, I think, more of a push to the upside, which explains the increase of 16,000 in open interest. We bought we added some longs in this market yesterday. course, we added shorts, but it's the longs who created those. Another interesting trading day today for us. And again, not that interested in doing anything right off the bat here, as we are in range and in value. The value of natural gas has not changed much since yesterday, which doesn't fare well for bigger opportunities in trading. Let's see here. Crude oil. Longs. Looks like the opening range, which was huge, is paying 05 to 70. 65 tick opening range. Too rich for my blood. But certainly has been a decent opportunity. It's definitely a 2-to-1 right now. But that risk, to me, was inhibitive. I'll find another opportunity. Okay. All right, so we are looking forward to getting together here in just a few minutes for Make Hogue Money. Let's take our deep breath. Be humble, grateful, and creative in your trading today. Be flexible, be adaptive, and always, again, be humble and continue praying for peace and strength and freedom. All right, I am going to get things set up. I will be in the Zoom room in about 4 minutes. If you get there before me, chill, I'll be there shortly, and we'll see if we can't find a way to make Hogue money. This is on you guys. You got to try and make me some money. All right. I will see you here in about 5 minutes. Other than that, trade well today. Get out there and profit. I'll be back after Make Hogue Money for the recap today at 3 o'clock. We'll take a look and see what's going on. All right. So, again, we'll see you in a few minutes. If you don't come, hey, have a great trading day.